Hello there, I'm the Star Wars guy. Season 7 of the Clone Wars is finally here, and today we're breaking down episode number 2 entitled A Distant Echo. If you haven't seen the episode and you're worried about spoilers, it's probably best you go ahead and turn this off now. Consider yourself warned. Now, the moral quote for this episode is the search for truth begins with belief. A Distant Echo tackles major themes such as belief in yourself, determination, and trust in your friends. Now, to offer a very quick overview of the episode, believing that MIA soldier Echo may still actually be alive, Clone Captain Rex decides to launch a dangerous covert rescue mission alongside Anakin and the Bad Batch. This episode has a ton of notable characters in it, starting with Anakin, of course. We see him throughout the Clone Wars, and he's a big part of this episode as well. But this episode is really a Rex episode, Clone Captain Rex. We see more of his character than I think we ever have in this episode. We also realize he's more than just a mindless soldier. Rex is one of the few clones we get to go in depth with. However, it's safe to assume that all clones are complex, multi-dimensional beings. This is what crucially separates them from droids. It's also further evidence proving General Pong Krell was wrong about clones. They're not expendable. We also get a nice scene with Padme. You may already know that I'm not the biggest fan of Padme's character. However, I will admit she's much more likable in this scene than I've ever seen her. She's very supportive of Anakin and offers wise advice on how to best support Rex when he really needs Anakin's support. We also get a tender moment between Padme and Anakin that shows how their love developed throughout the Clone Wars. The Bad Batch, Clone Force 99. For a more in-depth breakdown of these guys, check out my review of Episode 1, The Bad Batch. I'm reminded that this is the perfect squad to work with Anakin, and I actually kind of wish they were designed to be an elite squad specifically for him, as their fighting styles are both similarly reckless and effective. It seems like they were both made for each other. We also meet the Politech people, specifically their chieftain. These are Skako Minor natives who worship Kiridaks, who are the flying reptiles we see them riding. Now, we've seen a similar character arc in many Clone Wars episodes, and it goes something like this. Jedi crash lands on a remote world and is greeted by hostile locals, only to befriend them and receive critical help. Well, this happens again here. The chieftain sends a pair of Politech scouts to show our heroes the way to Wat Tambor's stronghold, which leads us to Wat Tambor. Tambor's the leader of the Techno Union. You may remember him from the Siege of Ryloth arc earlier in the Clone Wars series, as well as Revenge of the Sith. While he was captured and imprisoned as a result of the Republic takeover of Ryloth, he was later liberated and rejoined his separatist allies. D-Wing air support droids. These crazy-looking battle droids are the result of the Techno Union experimenting with the standard B-series battle droid. It's interesting to me that a faction constantly preaching their neutrality is experimenting with instruments of war. And finally, Echo. While we don't learn a whole lot about Echo in this episode, we do see that he's alive, but in poor condition. I'm sure we'll learn more in the next episode, so I'll save most of my thoughts on Echo for later. Now, this episode has a lot of great moments throughout it. First up, Rex and Anakin's conversation in the beginning of the episode. You can tell they really have a lot of respect and trust for each other. It's also telling of their relationship that Rex feels free to speak his mind to Anakin and disagree with him, as opposed to just blindly following any order that he technically should because Anakin's a general outranking him. But Rex feels comfortable enough, and Anakin has enough trust and respect for Rex that they can have more of a dialogue. Next is the Anakin and Padme call. We saw a little bit of this clip in the trailer, but the highlight of this is that Rex knows. Rex stands guard outside while Anakin and Padme are talking, so he knows what's going on between them, and is willing to defend Anakin and keep his secrets. Another great moment is when the Bad Batch rescues Anakin. Anakin is kidnapped by the Politechs and pinned down by a Kiridak, but the Bad Batch comes in and rescues him. It's another beautiful example of the synergy the Bad Batch has and how quickly they can work as a team. I also loved when Rex stuck up for Regs. Regs are Crosshair's derogative term for regular clone troopers, or any clone trooper that's not enhanced in the way he and his team is. Rex wasn't having that, so he gladly goes to blows with Crosshair, and even stands up to Wrecker before Anakin intervenes. And you know I love seeing the Bad Batch in action, so we have a great battle scene moment where we see all of our heroes take on wave after wave of D-Wing battle droids. Even though the odds are heavily stacked against them, of course they prevail. And finally, the Echo reveal at the end of the episode. When Echo falls out of his isolation chamber, it's both shocking and sad. It's a real tearjerker moment as Rex cradles his old friend and tells him it's gonna be okay. It's also a beautiful cliffhanger for the episode to end on, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Now, this episode had a lot of great quotes as well, like this one from Padme.
I'm worried he's letting his personal feelings drive him too much on this mission. I wonder where he learned that.
And this one from Obi-Wan.
I hope you at least told Padme I said hello.
This seems like an innocent moment that we may normally overlook, but it's actually monumental. It shows us that Obi-Wan knows about Padme and Anakin. And I think most of us have assumed that he did, but we've never actually seen proof of that before this. Now, to what degree he knows of their relationship, we don't really know, but he knows they are very close. It's also important to note that he chooses to protect Anakin by keeping his secret. This tiny little quote says a lot about Obi-Wan's character. Finally, Wrecker has all of the best quotes in this episode. These are just a few.
Well, I'm not scared of nothing. When I'm up real high, I got a problem with gravity. Ah! Sorry. I just got excited.
Now, regarding special notes on this episode, the entire Bad Batch arc was actually originally released in 2015. However, it was basically an unfinished sketch as the Clone Wars officially ended in 2013 until Disney Plus revived it. I deliberately avoided watching the original footage so I could be fully into the new versions. I'm sure when the dust settles I'll go back and watch the originals, but for now, I'm all in on the revival, and I'm going to avoid spoiling anything in this arc. The moral quote ties into this episode beautifully. Rex is constantly doubted by literally every single other character in this episode, but he never once lets himself lose hope or question his belief. And that'll wrap up my breakdown of the second episode from Season 7 of Clone Wars entitled A Distant Echo. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe below for more Star Wars content every single day. And I'll see you in the next video.